Hello everyone and welcome back to LewisFiction and welcome to another episode of Spectacular Spider-Man Season 5. If you have not caught up with Season 5 or any of the other seasons yet and this is your first time watching the channel, make sure you go back and watch them first. With that being said, let's get straight into this. Episode 8, My Knight in Red Hair. We continue our story. MJ looks at the monster straight in the face. His eyes, despite how venomous and torrid they look, flashed human for a second. MJ could sense Peter in there somewhere. She just needed to find him. MJ speaks to the monster, begging him to calm down, begging him to stop on his rampage. However, Man-Spider picks up MJ. She screams out as the monster takes her off into the moonlight to some unknown location. Jean DeWolf arrives on the scene a few moments later and sees a part of Spider-Man's costume torn off from the fight. She frowns. What happened here? We cut back to the clone swinging Anna Watson through the city to the nearest hospital. He arrives at the hospital and admits her. She is wheeled in straight away. She has gone into cardiac arrest due to the shock that she was put under, similar to what happened to Aunt May in all those seasons ago. The clone stares as she's taken in. A doctor thanks Spider-Man, and because of his fast nature, she may have a chance. The clone nods and swings off, looking to find MJ and the monster. The clone returns to the house to find forensics and Jean DeWolf on site. She asks what happened to the costume. The clone, trying not to reveal too much as to what happened, says it's complicated and carries on with the search. He asks if she or anyone else saw which direction they took off in. DeWolf mentions that they've had a few sightings in the city, but nothing past that. They don't know where they're heading. The clone swings off in the distance, as DeWolf remarks how strange that encounter was. Spider-Man isn't usually as closed off as that. Plus, his costume's different. Who is this guy? Didn't sound any different to Spider-Man. We then cut back to Man-Spider. He has taken MJ with him back to Miles Warren's lab. This time, calmly, he places her down in front of him, almost like he's trying to tell her something. MJ is confused and asks if this is where Professor Warren worked, to which Man-Spider couldn't respond, but it was more rhetorical. MJ had a pretty good hunch that this is where the professor worked, and even though a monster stood in front of him, there was still something inside of him that told him to bring her here. Although it was trashed, burnt and scattered, the place was a lab of great brilliance. At this point in the story, it becomes clear that Man-Spider can still think. Despite his animalistic instincts, among other things, the monster brought MJ here to help him, to see if he could transform him back into the man he always was. However, science wasn't her speciality like Peter's. MJ scurried around the lab, tripping over things, laying across the dormant floor, trying to find something, anything that could cure her love. Man-Spider sat and rested, until Man-Spider's spider sense went crazy. He screeches out as MJ jolts around asking what it is, and with absolutely no hesitation, a massive green monster, the one from before, jolts out and attacks Man-Spider. It's mutated monster versus mutated monster. The fight rages on as they both cripple the lab even more, MJ trying to stay alive by purely dodging out of the way. However, the fight is brutal, almost like a Godzilla vs. Kong Titanic battle. This one between two beasts, and one of the most brutal fights this series has ever seen. The green monster got an upper hand on Man-Spider. His slimmer nature gave him more speed and thus power behind his attacks. Man-Spider collapsed to the ground, leaving the green monster victorious. MJ sat crouched behind a table in fear as the monster cackled its way slowly over to her. It couldn't see her, but it could smell her. It could sense her. She notices a gas canister out the corner of her eye. As the green monster got closer, MJ got ready to pounce, and when it was approximately a few meters from her, she lashed out and jumped over to the canister. The monster screeched out and lunged over towards her. However, MJ sprayed the green beast with as much chemical as possible. It screams out in pain as MJ scatters across the room until she finds a Bunsen burner. She instinctively flicks it on at the switch and lobs it at the green monster as she watches him go up in flames. It screams out once more, rolling around the lab trying to extinguish the flames. However, it doesn't work. In fact, things in the lab start catching fire themselves. The green monster escapes into the night, pride and soul hurt by the fire. MJ, however, has no time to think about what she just saw and what the hell that was and what the heck is going on. Now she has another problem on her hands. Not only is Man-Spider knocked out in the corner, but the entire lab looks like it's about to come down in flames. She couldn't carry Man-Spider out with her. He's too heavy. But she couldn't leave him either, because still somewhere inside there is Peter Parker. She had to find a way to take out the fire first. At first she tries to spray all the extinguishers from the wall onto the fire. However, it doesn't work. It only holds the fire back temporarily. As she looks around the room trying to find another solution, she then notices sprinklers on the ceiling. However, the sensors are broken, as they've not been set off. She thinks there must be a manual switch somewhere just for safeguarding. She searches around the walls as the fire grows. The heat begins to approach her every second more ferociously that she delays putting it out. As the flames starts to engulf tables and chairs, she starts to panic. But she can't give up. Not for her. Not for Peter. She finds a switch on the wall that says fire sprinklers, but it's locked behind a glass shield. She pulls it, but no use. It won't come off. She picks up the closest thing to her, a chair leg, and with all her might and force, plunges it into the side of the glass shield, shattering it in the process. Without hesitation, she leans forward and stomps on the button with the palm of her hand, and the sprinklers all set off, putting the fire out. As her hair begins to drip with water, she slides down the back of the wall and closes her eyes. She did it. She breathes a sigh of relief. As she walks back over to Manspider, she places her hand on his face and promises that they will get help. They will bring Peter Parker back. And just as she says that, the clone arrives on the scene. The next portion of the episode will be the clone and MJ looking through Warren's research, trying to determine a cure for Peter. The clone uses his wits and Parker brain to put together pieces of research left around the lab. He manages to come up with something. MJ asks if it's going to work, because if it's wrong, it could kill him, or worse. The clone says it's their only option. They have to try this, and this is the only way to bring him back. And Professor Warren is gone. He can't help us now. MJ sheds a tear, but she knows that the clone is right. He walks over to Manspider and carefully injects the serum through a vial into his skin. And nothing. A few moments later, nothing again. He lays still unconscious. MJ starts to shed a tear as she lays her head on Manspider's chest. And then all of a sudden, Manspider starts to transform and shrink and returns Peter Parker once more. He's back. He sleeps and rests as the clone and MJ celebrate. They've done it. They've brought him back. And without the extra arms too. However, in a moment of joy and rejoice, MJ's phone rings. She picks it up. It's the hospital. MJ's face drops as the clone asks, "What is it?" MJ puts the phone down as she delivers the news. Anna Watson has passed away. Thank you for watching episode 8 of the Spectacular Spider-Man Season 5. We're getting ever closer to that series finale, and you're not going to want to miss it. It's all ramping up now, with the Jackal still on the loose, Manspider back to being Peter Parker. It's all coming together. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys all in the next video. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.